Firstly, it's whatever works for you. That's the most important thing. So when you're going through, you're building out your meal plan, working with a coach, think about who you're working with, all right, and figure out what works for you. Everybody's preferences are very different, all right? But the first thing that we're going to talk about is keto, all right? Keto is a basic diet that essentially is composed of predominantly fats and a little bit of protein, and your body goes into a state of ketosis. Due to the lack of carbohydrates in your diet, your body's going to transition over to utilizing free radical fat, known as ketones, and that's what's going to give you energy throughout the day. All right, so why does that work? It works mainly for one reason, and that's a caloric deficit that you're creating. Fat contains 9 calories per gram. It is the most calorically dense macronutrient out there, whereas protein and carbohydrates both have 4 calories per gram. All right, so naturally the satiation effects of fat are far greater than protein or carbohydrate sources, especially refined carbohydrate sources. So when you think about fat being more satiating, the likelihood of you overeating goes down, despite it being a higher concentration of calories per gram. So that is the big reason why it works, because you're more apt to put yourself into a caloric deficit by eating fats and proteins. All right, it's usually difficult for people to overeat protein. You'll usually find that's the macronutrient that a lot of people have difficulty hitting, because most people don't want to sit there and eat 10 ounces of meat 3 times a day. I'm not saying you have to do that, but drastic example. So when you think about it, you have to be eating below your maintenance level of calories, right? So if you eat 2,000 calories on a daily basis and your weight stays the same, and then you transition and you start eating 1,500 calories, multiply that by the 7 days in a week, you have now created a 3,500 calorie deficit over the course of a week. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body weight lost. All right? Body weight. I'm not saying fat, I'm saying weight. All right? So when you go into a diet like that, a keto diet, will you lose weight? More than likely. Why are you losing weight? It is not necessarily the magic of a ketogenic diet. All right, the lack of carb or the cutting out carbs has been around for a long time. All right, when you spike your insulin levels by eating carbohydrates, because that's what happens, right? It gets converted into sugar in your body, raises your blood sugar. When that happens, your propensity to gain fat and your body goes into storage mode. Okay, so if you're not spiking your blood sugar and your blood sugar is level, the odds of your body going into storage mode are much lower. So you're creating the deficit, you're minimizing your insulin levels, you'll lose weight. All right, now that's just the big fad diet that everybody's talking about right now. There's a lot of different variants out there. I'm not a big fan of it, personally. The reason I'm not a big fan of it is because it's not sustainable for most people long term. Just think about it. You're going to go the rest of your life without eating carbohydrates? Probably not, right? So I'm a huge believer that whatever meal plan you decide to go with should be a meal plan that you like and that you can stick with, right? I think that's the most important thing. Find something that you can stick with, all right? Which brings me to my next topic, is a lot of these fancy meal plans. Look at guys like Coach Greg, all right? He's got his cookbook, absolutely loves his meal plan. His meal plan is pretty damn good. I've taken a look at his cookbook. He's got some great recipes in there, and I have nothing but great things to say about the food and the food choices. What I do have an issue with, though, is the amount of time it takes to prep all of that food. If you're going to be eating 3 to 6 times a day, prepping all of the food, man, that's a huge task. It's a huge task for 2 reasons. One, food's only going to be good in the fridge for about 3 days. All right, some of the items you really can't prep ahead of time or else they're just not going to taste very good. But it's the work involved. It's the fact that you're going to have to prepare all of these different meals. And if you're not working from home or you're not in a place where you can do that and you have to prep it and bring it with you on a daily basis, it's going to be a lot of work. All right, and for most people, after a while, you just kind of say screw it, and then you'll just order takeout or get something delivered to your work or whatever it happens to be. All right, so that's my big gripe with those diets, and that's why it never worked for me. The whole if it fits your macros approach, all right? If it fits your macros is a great idea in theory. All right, for those of you that don't know, it's also called IIFYM, and that essentially means that you run a math equation, you figure out what your caloric needs are, and then we reverse engineer based on your activity level to determine your fat, carb, and protein requirements. All right, once you've got those numbers, then you take advantage of an application called MyFitnessPal. You weigh your food, you try to hit your numbers on a daily basis. All right, great in theory, flexible, right? Flexible dieting. Great idea. Here's the issue that I ran into personally with that. Your whole day is pretty much revolved around trying to hit those numbers. It gets, if you're anything like me, it gets to be pretty ridiculous because you're sitting there at the end of the day and you're like, oh, all right, I've got 10 grams of protein left, I've got 30 grams of carbs, I've got 2 grams of fat, and then you're sitting there looking at nutrition labels, you're typing in different things into MyFitnessPal, you're trying to hit the numbers, and it takes up too much time. All right. Now, conversely, you could certainly design a meal plan for yourself using foods that you like ahead of time through the application, then stick to that to create a meal plan for yourself. That can certainly be done. That's what I do with my clients, is I'll design various meal plans where I'll do all the work for you, and all you have to do is just prep all of your food on top of a scale. It's much easier that way. All right. Now, the other thing is on back to the topic of the cookbooks and some of the chefs of YouTube in the fitness space these days. Let's talk about Remington James. All right, I think he's the other big player in this space. Great recipes. All right, great recipes. Again, nothing but great things to say about it. Great food, love it. But again, we're in that same situation where the level of work required is so high that it's difficult for a lot of people to stick with. All of the prep work, making all of these meals, doing it twice a week, or maybe you freeze the meals, which is a better option. But you typically 3 days is what you're going to get out of the food in the fridge. And by that third day, it usually doesn't taste very good. All right, your chicken's dried out. Things don't, just the flavors just go to crap, right? So I have a few ways that I personally meal prep. I'm well versed in all the different avenues, whether you want to try a keto diet, whether you want to do a flexible diet program, whether you want to eat very tasty foods on a daily basis, or whether you want to keep it basic, simple, short, sweet, and efficient. That's what I pride myself on with my clients, is I want to make your lives as easy as possible on your fitness journey. So if you do want to have, let's say, drastic weight loss, or you want to have a transformation, I want to help you do that. But more importantly, I want to give you the tools and the knowledge necessary to keep it throughout your life without it becoming your life. Do you see the distinction there? I don't want it to become your life. I want it to become a part of your life. All right, because I know we all have a lot going on in the whole fitness segment, making sure you look good, feel good, and you're healthy. It's a small portion. It's an important portion, but it's usually a small portion that gets overlooked. So let's work together. Let's find out a way where we can put a meal plan together for you that's going to work for you in the long run, something that's going to be sustainable, quick, easy, efficient for the rest of your life. So that way you can live and prosper any way that you see fit. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I appreciate it. Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit that bell button, please. And as always, you can check me out on my website, RTBTransformations.com. I do offer personalized coaching as well as fitness programs and meal plans. If you want a consultation, feel free to submit a request. I'll be more than happy to speak with any of you. And with that, I am out. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Stay great.